What does my imaginary world reveal about you? Yeah, you heard that right. How can my imaginary world reveal something about you and give you a personal insight? Well, let me introduce myself. So I'm Sarah, and for the past year, I've been sharing my imaginary world on YouTube. So my imaginary world is inspired by my stuffed toy hedgehog Chutney, who I got when I was 9 years old. Right. How many of you are cringing? If you are cringing right now about me showing my cuddly toy, you could consider leaving a comment saying, I'm part of the cringe squad. So, if you are cringing, why are you cringing? That's interesting. What is it about me playing with my cuddly toy online and talking about my imaginary childhood world that makes you feel a bit strange inside? Maybe you don't feel strange inside, and that's interesting. Do you think you're like most people? So if you are cringing at me playing with Chutney, where do you think that cringe comes from? Is it something that someone said to you when you were a child? Did your peers or did your parents say at some point, you're too old to be playing with cuddly toys? In which case, now you're an adult. Do you still agree with them? Is this something that you still believe to be true, that playing with cuddly toys on the internet is a bit cringy? Or on the other hand, maybe when I play with Chutney, actually you think, this isn't how adults are meant to behave. Adults are supposed to be serious. This isn't what people should be doing with their time. This isn't a worthwhile thing to do with your life. And maybe that's actually a principle that you hold, something that you believe, a value of yours. And either way, you've learned something new about yourself, a personal insight, or you've understood or confirmed with yourself what you already thought by interacting with me and my cuddly toy. So where am I going with this? So on my channel, I like to share the sort of absurd stories, the hedgehogs. So it's a hedgehog world called Chutasia, and the Chutasian hedgehogs are a bit strange. They have unusual activities, unusual religions, unusual foods, etc. And I think what I would like to do, I've understood, is although when I'm sharing my world with you, I don't personally have a motive or a value or a sort of political view that I'm trying to push on you or to explain through my work. This isn't Animal Farm. It's not even something like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, where it's a tale of good over evil. It's not it at all. Chutasia, my imaginary world, is just self-expression. It's just kind of random creativity. I am starting to reflect myself, though, that perhaps it's not so random, and perhaps my paracosm means imaginary world, perhaps my imaginary world does reveal things about me, but it's certainly not my intent when I'm sharing my imaginary world to be trying to persuade you of a view or to trick you or to manipulate you. And I think that in the past year, I've perhaps been over careful to keep sort of trying to stress that my world doesn't have any meaning beyond silly hedgehogs. But why not? Why couldn't it have more meaning? Why not, if the audience could decide for themselves whether a story or a joke or a character has some sort of symbolism to them in their life? Perhaps when I talk about Mr. Sprinkles, are you still part of the cringe squad? Perhaps if I talk about Mr. Sprinkles the unicorn, and I tell you that Mr. Sprinkles is the last unicorn. All of the other unicorns were destroyed in some sort of space rock collision event when the Vomit Comet recently passed the planet that Chutasia is on. Some parts of the rock collided with where Mr. Sprinkles' family is from, and he's now the last unicorn. Perhaps that makes you feel sad, or perhaps you don't feel anything. Both interesting reactions. And what if I tell you that Mr. Sprinkles, he actually has quite a lively and exuberant personality. And why is that? Well, it's because he's become particularly interested in pharmaceuticals and likes to use various pharmaceutical goods to help, I suppose, cope with his loneliness. And so I suppose, like, I'm not trying to add some analysis on top of that. That's just me playing with a unicorn toy. But I think that I'm really interested and I really value if the story of Mr. Unicorn did make you think of something. Perhaps it made you think, oh, I feel quite alone all the time, a bit like Mr. Sprinkles. Or maybe you're a bit more literal and you're like, oh, my niece has a toy that looks like Mr. Sprinkles. I should remember to send her a happy birthday card. Or maybe you actually feel a bit of outrage and you're like, I don't think this is, Mr. Sprinkles who likes his pharmaceutical goods. I actually don't think it's appropriate to ever joke about addiction. Maybe that's what you think. And I'm not here to try to persuade you. I'm not actually really that interested in debate. But what I am interested in is the meaning that others might prescribe to my random play. And I think that that's something that I would get value from, is kind of like people finding some sort of meaning and symbolism in my play. And also perhaps that is a value for the audience. So I have talked previously about like what's been motivating me for the past year. Okay, now look a mess. Like, what's been motivating me for the past year? Well, I was sharing my paracosm because I thought, oh, this is something that I've been doing for 20 years. It's something that's very dear to me and that I enjoy doing. I want to express myself by putting my little stories and jokes online. I am trying to reach my potential. I'm trying to be myself in the world. I'd like to leave some sort of legacy for when I'm dead and gone. But then the question is, well, why put it online then? Couldn't you just put it in some papers and leave it in your will or something like that? And I think this perhaps was the missing aspect that I've been missing for the first year, is that I'd like to encourage my viewers to use my work for personal, as a springboard for discovering something new about yourself. What do you think of this? Do you think this is a good idea? Do you have ideas for how I could go about doing this? I'm planning to maybe add more pauses in my videos and kind of ask questions to sort of invite, in the comment section, people to discuss what the jokes made them think about. Did it make them remember a happy memory, or did they not find it funny at all, for example? Because that's interesting in itself. I spoke to my partner a bit about this when we started to chat, and we had this realization that actually I'd like people to find meaning in my work. And we found that it was a bit like I've written a note, so don't get it wrong, a Rorschach test, which is like the kind of ink blot test that they use in psychology. Or there's a similar one called the Thematic Apperception test. I don't know what these things are. The Rorschach test is the sort of ink blot test. And they show people ink blots and they ask them, what does it look like? Some people might say it looks like a butterfly. Some people say it looks like a face. On the Thematic Apperception test, it's actually drawings of people and things, but they're ambiguous. They're called ambiguous stimuli. And the whole interesting thing about it is that these drawings or these pictures are not of something. But what they do is they reveal something about what you interpret from it. If you see a butterfly, why? Or if you look at ambiguous drawing of two people, you think that they're arguing. That's interesting. Why do you immediately think that they're arguing? So anyway, if you were sort of interested in seeing whether something like this could be valuable to you, I hope also that my videos are just entertaining. I think maybe some of my jokes are quite funny. So hopefully my jokes are quite funny. And perhaps also I invite you to use this to learn more about yourself. So okay, I think that's the end of this video. Do check out my other videos if you'd like. And I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.